like twice a month, I'll have business owners who come out that are bigger, that are like kind of like not portfolio ready, but like they're doing usually like, you know, $5 to $25 million a year, like right in that range. And I spend a whole day with those 10 businesses, and it's like, and I tell them, I'm like, this is the fucking best. Like, I love this. This is my favorite thing in my entire life. But it's everything that's not that. And Bezos talks about the overhead, right? And I think it's when the overhead starts to become a disproportionate amount of your time. And I think that at every level of at least entrepreneurship, I get these periods where the overhead just become bigger and bigger and bigger until I fix it, right? And so like for us, I told you, I'll tell everybody publicly, like I think 8 or 9 lawsuits within like 30 days at the beginning of this year. And so I was like, okay, that sucked. And then I'll tell you the story that happened on top of this, just to give everyone some context. Layla had a health thing. She went to the doctor to get it checked out. And our EA was with her. And I was like, hey, how's it going? What's going on? And she had said earlier, like, she can't get in. I was like, what? What does that even mean? And then the next text I got from the EA was, she has cancer. And so I remember reading that text and being like, okay, all right, this is reality now. Like, this is now the new frame. And I sat with it just long enough to enrich and absorb that concept.
Sick.
Yeah. And so then I was like, all right, so I'm thinking, okay, like chemo, like what do we need to do diet-wise? Like I'm already thinking through this stuff. And I was like, okay, what kind of cancer is it? What state? Like that's what I'm going with. So I asked for more details. And she was like, oh my God, no. The reason that it was delayed was because the front desk girl has cancer and she just messed something up. And that was what she was using as her excuse. Layla doesn't have cancer. And I was like, oh, she does have this other stuff, right? But she doesn't have cancer. And the thing is that Layla, after that occurred, when I hung out with her later that night, was, obviously annoyed at whatever issue she was dealing with. But for me, I was like, I saw her and I just gave her this big hug and I was like, hey, you don't have cancer. And so it's crazy. There's this exact example of gratitude, this terrible thing. And just kidding, it's not a thing anymore. And now I'm really grateful that you have the terrible thing that you have now. At least it's not cancer. And so to bring this back, that all still happened in the same period of time. And Chris mentioned this earlier. I don't know if it was before this pod, but like there was a mishap with printing my next book that's coming out. And the equivalent of 1.5 acres of trees basically became unusable because there were sufficient errors in the book that I couldn't, in good conscience, kind of like the can. It's like, how bad of a mess up does it have to be on the can for me not to sell it, right? And like I had to have this internal. I was like, maybe I could make it a thing. Like, hey, our books had some mess ups, and I was like, no one's gonna care. No one's gonna care. They're just gonna remember that they got a fucked up book. And so I had to destroy those, right? And so I have like 7 more massive ones, but I'm not going to get into it. But the beauty of this entire thing was I got to have this experience of being forced to say, okay, is there a world where I'm going to have to endure more of this? And the answer to that, if I continue to do what I'm doing, is yes. And so I need to build a legal team, which is what I've now built. And so there's these things that all of a sudden now, am I better at gratitude or did I solve the problem? I don't know. I'd be like, really, I want to be real. Like, I don't know. But as of May 1st, things are a little better. And my actual health, for anybody who's a health nut, my HRV average was about 32. And I'd have many, many low 20s days for a 36-year-old active male. Pretty bad. And since May 1st, I'm up like 15 points on my HRV. And I have changed nothing. I eat the same, I work out the same, I'm pretty routine oriented. And the only thing that has changed was the decision that 2025, I'm not tossing out 2025. And I started in the beginning of the year and I was talking to a good friend of mine and he was like, dude, fuck bad year. He was like, stop fucking saying that. And I was like, you're right, I should stop saying that. It will be a handful of moments over 5 months that were spread out. And then the back 7, I was like, I can fucking murder it.
You turn this around.
Yeah, exactly. We're turning the ship around, right? And so I've actually been like, it's almost been like an exciting thing for me right now. So I have a little bit of a smile because I'm pumped for it.
Personal observation. You get absolutely better returns at the top ends of achievement because oftentimes assets pool to the winners. The problem is, to achieve the highest levels, you have to give up proportional amounts of the things you hoped the achievements would get you. There comes a time when the hard work you have to do is learning that you can't work any harder any longer, and that you have to change what got you here to what will get you to where you want to go. You can work to get anything you want, but you have to sacrifice the other things you want to keep it. And that's sometimes harder than the work.
Imagine your best employee is stuck doing admin tasks, paperwork, answering phones from upset customers. Ooh. Yeah, 2025.
In the dick.
Yeah. The hard remains the same. Actually, I've given this a huge amount of thought. So, like, what makes something hard? Like, just in and of itself, like, what actually makes something hard? And so, if we think about this as an aversive stimulus or a negative stimulus, then you have, because habituation happens on both sides. And this is what I think is so fascinating, because it's like, okay, well, I wanted this big thing to happen. I wanted the Rolls Royce. I wanted the Ferrari, whatever. Saved my whole life, and here I am, right? And I was happy for a week, and then all of a sudden I got used to it, right? So I was like, why can't I habituate to the suck, right? Why can't I habituate to the suck? And the thing is that you do. The only thing is that what makes the suck keep sucking is what makes punishment effective, which is increasing intensity and variety. And so if you want to effectively punish someone, you can't just keep punishing them the same way. You have to increase intensity and change how you do it. And the beautiful thing is that life doesn't fight fair. And so life will change the intensity and will give you more variety. How many times have you been like, I didn't know life could suck in this way? Like, this is a new one. Wow. Like, you spin the roulette of life and you're like, oh, here's another one that sucks.
My dick was kicked from another angle.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
Had no idea. And so in thinking about that, it was like, okay, I think the reason that the hard persists is because the nature of the currency that you pay or that you exchange for the thing that you want changes. Because in the very beginning, you basically have to
which that change could be time, could be skills that improve your mental focus and improve whatever it is you're truly trying to improve.
Conquer your friends and family who tell you that this might be a bad idea. Okay, fine, you get over that. And then you have to conquer yourself in the most basic level of, like, I have to do something. Okay, so you start taking action, you start learning how to learn stuff, which is learning through failure and learning through do. So you start doing that, and you realize you're not going to die if you fail. Okay, then after that, then it's like, okay, but then now you have this dramatic skill deficiency, right? So you have to very quickly level up in a ton of different things, in whatever domain you're in, right? And then that has many failure loops that. Have we habituated to failure? No, it's too generalized. So the failures that occur are specific, and so it's just like, oh, I didn't know I could fail in this way, right? Like, we had an event. So we hold an event at our headquarters, like, monthly, and when people come out, I remember it was like 3 times in a row there was this thing at the front desk that got messed up, and I was like, how? Like, it was the can thing. I was like, how? How, right? And I swear to God, I got the message back, and they said, well, the system messed up in a different way this time. And I was like,
same issue, new route.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I was like, and it happened 3 times in total. And so it was the same problem, 3 complete. They're like, well, we fixed that version of the problem, but then this one came up. And so it's like, it still sucked. And so the thing is that I think failure is, our habituation to failure is so narrow that every new type of failure, all 3 of those hurt.
Micro novelty.
Yes. And so when I think about that, is like, when, like I said, this year financially has been the best year of my life, right? And so that's been awesome. But I've had all of these. I mean, I've had health stuff. Layla had health stuff that was separate. We had legal things, which is another whole thing.
Business stuff, book stuff.
Yeah, there's the book stuff, and then there's
staffing stuff.
Yeah, there's a lot of things. And so all of those things happened, and I was like, so it's just that the currency has changed. The currency that I'm paying. And so I'm very happy to pay.
The currency is the time that is happening to get the other things you want, distractions, whatever it is. It's the currency that you are paying now. You can't take the currency back. Because whatever the currency you pay for it within the time that you either wasted or did the things that you say that you are going to do. So whatever currency it is, it means to have meaning. It needs to have meaning. Because if there's no currency without no time, skills, or dedication, then what's the point in continuing on doing that thing, that motivated thing?
Long hours currency. I'm very happy to pay the what am I willing to give up in terms of social life. Like that to me, I've habituated to that price. That's not hard for me. I don't even consider it a sacrifice anymore, which is I think what you want because people will sometimes maybe see you or maybe they'll see me and think of like the Goggins, work until your eyes bleed. The thing is that like, and maybe I don't know Goggins, but well, I'll just speak for myself. I don't really push that hard. Like I don't really push. I do it, and I've already habituated to this. Like this is not an excess for me.
Pushed in the initial
Yeah,
to get up to the
to get to
momentum.
here.
And
Yeah.
now
Yeah, and I like we worked. So I had my whole team in a boardroom. At the very beginning, you saw my timer. So I have a timer that's on my phone. It has like 22 and a half hours on it. And so what I've been doing is I've been challenging the team to. They wanted to do a 12-week project, and I said, hey, can we do it in 7 days? Right. And not only are we going to do it in 7 days, we're going to actually see how many actual hours does it take of us working together to get this done. And my hope is that we get the whole thing done in under 50 hours with 8 guys. And so I'm like, okay, so we can shrink what was once going to be 3 months into this period of time. And so over the last 2 days, we just did this, and I'm going to do it again tomorrow, is that everyone was starting to work at 7 and continued, didn't really leave the boardroom except for like to use the restroom until about 9 o'clock at night. And so you're talking 12, 14-hour days, but like on the whole time. And the thing is, and this is what's crazy. Every single guy who was in that room texted me afterwards, was like, that was fucking awesome. Like, I wish we could work like this all the time. And so like, I don't think like we talk about work and what makes work hard and all of these things, but like most of the things, once you learn how to work, the work itself is self-reinforcing and you enjoy it. It's everything else that you didn't know you were going to have to sacrifice so that you could get back to working. And so that's where I've had to really consider this Bulgarian method approach. So we talked about a powerlifter, a friend of yours, who like he went to go train with the best coach of all time. And so there's the Bulgarian system, which is the same thing in Bulgaria. This tiny little nation disproportionately outcompetes in Olympic lifting. And the way that they do it is they have a system which basically just breaks everyone who does it, except for the one person who can sustain it, and he becomes champion. And so I actually see business, unfortunately or fortunately, very similar in a lot of ways, which is that the path, the science of achievement is fairly straightforward, right? Like you have to pursue high leverage opportunities, and that is the working smart. And then if everyone is working smart, then the only thing left that you have to compete is working hard, right? Because people say work smart, not hard. Only works when you compete against dumb people. Like my competition is smart, and they're also working hard, and so we both have to work.
Agreed, because without you working hard, you won't be able to accomplish the things you say you want to do, or the big dreams you want to accomplish as, because whatever those big dreams are, they can lead you down a path towards least resistance, or a path where you don't see yourself fitting in as. Because if you're not trying, your competition is trying even harder and harder and harder until they become that better version. Which means you need to continue and continue and continue on doing it until you become that better version.
And so that price, though, has been something that I've been staring at for myself because I've never had the aspiration of being number one. For at least for me, it's not in my DNA. I haven't had that desire to be the richest man in the world. Not something I care about. And so then it's getting into, okay, what's the sweet spot that maximizes enough where I can actually start looking at some of these other preferences that I have and say, you know what, I am no longer willing to make that trade. And the other part of me, we talked about lame earlier, like the coffee, made your week. Mm-hmm. To the same degree, like this is enough for you? Yeah. And I've actually had a very, I would say disdainful almost take when I would hear somebody who, okay, I'll take this, fine, I'll just take this, whatever you want. Someone gets to a few $1 million a year and they're like, that's it, I made it. And I have to fight against this is what I'm working on. I see that and I'm like, out of the game. Like he's out, yeah. Done. Like
quit too soon.
Yeah. Like there's so much juice left to squeeze, right? But then it's like,
there's so much stuff that is left to be said that is unstated because there's more stuff to be squeezed out of that bottle. out of that self, out of that perseverance, out of that persona, because there's more things to be juiced out within the juice of that orange or that apple, because there's more juice at the end of the bottle. I gotta go pee, I'll be back. Let's continue.
The thing is that the juice that comes out is your output, and the thing that's being squeezed is you. And so that's been thinking a lot about.
Well, look at that person
Yeah.
who gets to however much a year.
Yeah.
50 grand, 100 grand, a
whatever.
million, 2 million, 10 million. And they go, that's enough.
Yeah.
Who won?
Yeah.
Because that person finished their race
Yeah.
way before you.
Yeah.
Way before you. You're the fucking retard that's still running.
Let me tell you this story. So my first gym ever, I had my first manager who worked there. And he was a trainer. He was awesome. Best trainer I ever had. And I promoted him to manager. And with that pay raise, he went from something in the neighborhood of like $25,000 a year as a trainer, paid by session, to getting a salary of like $45,000 a year, which for me was a ton of money at the time when I was paying somebody else, right? And he did it for 6 months, crushed it, did an amazing job. And he said, "Hey man, can I talk to you after work today?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure, man. What's up? You're doing great, whatever." He says, "Hey, I don't want to be manager anymore." And I was like, "What do you mean? You're quitting?" He's like, No. I just want to be a trainer." And I was like, but you realize your pay would get cut in half. That doesn't really make sense." And he just looked at me, and I remember this to this day. He looked at me, he's like, "I'll just be poor then." And it was like a bomb dead. I was like, and I looked at it, and I was literally speechless. Then I just said, "I respect it, but I will never understand it." And the thing is that he is, to this day, I got to see him 3 weeks ago, first time in like 10 years. He was then the happiest person I've ever met. And today, or when I just saw him, just as happy. And he's like, "Dude, can you believe that we were starting that gym and you were at the floor?" And we were recounting some of those old stories. He's like, "Look what you have, man, all this stuff." And I was like, "Dude, you won. Like, I'm still trying to catch up to you." And that was a lot of the conversation that we had.
A quick aside, if you've been feeling a bit sluggish, happening better, get on.
Hi, we're Charity Water. If we lost you at Charity, we get it. Give us a moment to change your mind.
You hope the achievements would get you.
Yeah.
What's that?
I'll give a micro example of a sacrifice that I've chosen to reverse, which is that I love training. I love working out. I've been doing it. It was my first love, the first thing I ever liked, really got obsessed with. And over probably the last, however many years, I still obviously trained. I was still, in shape, but my training was, sometimes 2 days a week, sometimes 3 days a week. It would be, 60 minutes, maybe 90 if I got lucky. And I had this realization, it was during this year, 2025, where I was like, I have all this fucking money and I can do whatever I want. And I was like, and I can't even have my workout be as long as I want it to be. And so I basically made a rule for myself that I will not work out if I'm rushed. That's the deal. And so I will work out for as long as it takes to work out. And that's that. And so that means that if my workout takes 2 hours or takes 2.5 hours, or I'm with a friend and it takes 3 hours because we're just like talking between sets and having a great time, there are 3 things in this world that bring me joy: working out with somebody that I like, eating food with somebody that I like, ideally after I worked out, and writing. The 3 things that bring me the most joy in life. And I was like, why am I sacrificing one of the only 3 things in this world that I know that I enjoy to get something that I hoped would buy me the freedom to work out as much as I wanted whenever I wanted? And so what are the things that I put on the altar of the success? So what are the things that I sacrificed for this god of achievement? And I was like, this one I'm not willing to sacrifice anymore. And so I think part of the reason that like has been a lifeboat for me, or a life raft, while this kind of worst season has happened, it's like I've put on like 20 pounds of muscle so far this year because I've been able to I've been using that as a really wonderful outlet. And I was like, man, and I'm focusing more on this. Like my training partner every day, I'm like, dude, thank you for doing this with me. Like this is awesome. Like this is great. Like I've won the day. Like if I did nothing else, I get to the end of the day and I'm like, I crushed this workout. And that's enough.
It's a big pivot, dude. And it's one that I think everybody that's driven by the sort of hatred of past self, whip yourself into submission, Puritan work ethic thing will inevitably come to realize after a time. There may be some outlier for whom their capacity for discomfort and for sacrifice is literally greater than the duration of their life.
Yeah.
They would have got there eventually. They just died first.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But I think that for most people it's not. And you reach, I would call it something like sort of lifestyle escape velocity, where you go, all of the objective metrics are right and the subjective ones aren't, which is a good example of sort of what you've hinted at. And you go, how can I assume that the solution is fixing subjective metric problems with more objective metrics?
And I'll say this for anybody who's in the season where like, listen, you're 22 years old and you're like, I need to work my face off. You do. You need to work your face off. But the thing is like there will get to a point, we're fast forwarding, however many years, but there's nothing like I don't regret the amount of work that I've done. And I don't regret it at all. And I think that it was absolutely the right decision. And I work a lot now. But people make this extrapolated moment. They take a moment of your life and they will extrapolate it to forever. And assume that if you change your mind, that what you did before this was wrong. But it wasn't wrong. It was right for that time.
Dude.
And then we got feedback during a different time, and this is right for me now. And so I'm going to course correct now. And if something else changes, guess what? You're free to change your mind tomorrow.
Yeah.
You're able, what he's implying is that you're able to change your mind whenever you feel like changing your mind. It could be tomorrow, it could be today, it could be right now. Whatever it is that is changing your mind, it is there to change it. Without it, you will not be able to change whatever you want to change, is what he's implying.
And I think about it so much that one of the issues with asking anybody who's successful for advice is that they tell you what they do now,
Yeah,
not what they did when they were in your position.
1000%.
And you should not ask somebody, how are you maintaining your success right now? How did you achieve your success when you were at the stage that I was at? That is the question that you need to ask. And it's the same thing. Stupid people see somebody changing their mind as a weakness, not as a strength. And if you are the sort of person who goes, this strategy worked for me previously, or didn't, or I thought it worked for me and it didn't, I'm going to update the way that I operate. Perfect example. I've been on this sort of a flex, similar to yourself. I would say my lifestyle escape velocity, I needed to reach a lower altitude than you. So I was, getting into coast as opposed to still using the booster rockets earlier.
Yeah.
But I started talking about how like purposeful de-optimization, what is it that you're doing the things for, transitioning from the work until your eyes bleed to a different mode of reward and stuff like that. And some people...
I would rather work till my mind bleeds and my eyes bleed until I know the work that needs to be done, which without the knowing and the knowledge of whatever that work is, it can only be for you to know and you to truly only know. Because without you not knowing when your eyes will bleed and when your brain will bleed, then you will never know when you cannot quit and when you can stop doing the things you want to do and saying things you want to say, because that means you are doing the things that you believe in, which do with what you have now. 2,400 weeks. That's all you get within this time of being on this planet. That's all that what you get is 2,400 weeks. So don't waste your life. Don't create bullshit. Don't waste your time.
That I think don't understand me super well, which is fine because no one's supposed to understand you, especially not random people on the internet. But people will see snippets of whatever's been sort of the most salient narrative. And a bunch of them said something to the effect of, bro sold us the problem, now he's selling us the solution.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's really interesting, because what I'm doing is saying, this works for me right now. And what I was saying in the past was, this works for me right now. Nothing has changed. And this is why there's often, when it comes to sort of internet advice, it's very patronizing the way that the audience is treated by people that are critics, as if they're sort of these agency-less, undiscerning sponges that are totally incapable of applying or filtering, well, Alex doesn't have fucking 5 kids and no wife, right? Like, I'm a single father of 5 kids. What, living in Brooklyn in a single bedroom apartment. So, okay, I think you might need to adapt some of the things that he's saying. Or I'm twice as old, or I'm half the age, whatever. Like,
these guys are, I think Chris is like 35 to 36 in this, and Hormozi's around the same age. And I'm only 21. So I'm glad I'm studying now. Because if not, I would be wasting my life. Playing video games, doing whatever, watching TV. That's wasting my life. I'm not trying to waste my life. I'd rather have my eyes bleed, my brain bleed, and still not accomplish the things, or still accomplish the things I want to accomplish.
You should ask somebody what they did when they were at the stage that you were at, not where they are now.
So many things I want to respond to. So, number one, my embedded command to everyone is use if useful. Use if useful, number one. Number two, this is a documentary, not a sermon. This is a showing, like, at least my content is like, this is me showing what's going on. And I try to be
pretty slate with you guys, which, not stagnant, but slate. Slate, what I mean by that, slated the state of mind. Slated this algorithm, slated this person, slated this video. Slated is the algorithm or the mindset to do things differently. That's what I think of slated as.
real. And that means that if I change my mind, then it'll change. Third, model the rise if you want the rise, model the plateau if you want the plateau. And so saying, Warren Buffett says
model the rise, not the fall. But if you want to model the fall, you can model the fall as long as it's a good model of the rise and the fall. So then you can fall back on something else. Fall back on whatever it is. I'll see you guys in the next one, and yeah.